Okay, and welcome to Hashem's podcast this evening in Cairo and also evening in Amsterdam. Usually we have guests from Australia and the United States, so a big time difference, but this afternoon or evening it's very close. 7 p.m. in Cairo, 6 p.m. in Amsterdam. So tonight we have the pleasure of hosting a real legend and historical figure in the opera world. The bass, Raymond Modesti, has sung in theatres all over Germany, expanding his career to opera houses all over the world: Austria, Belgium, the United States, South Africa, South America, and Australia. He has a varied repertoire that ranges from Don Basilio, Barber of Seville, Zachariah, Nabucco, Daland, Fliegende Hollaender, Sarastro, the Magic Flute, Don Medigua, El Capitan, to Don Quichotte. His love for um, opera includes the German, Russian, American, and French composers such as Brahms, Schumann, Strauss, Glinka, Rachmaninov, Copland, Ives, Berlioz, Ibert, Roberts, and Debussy. He also ventures into the lighter repertoire, and recitals frequently include songs from the Italian-Neapolitan songs. As director of the International Belcanto Academy, Raymond shares his in-depth knowledge and of the School of Belcanto to students worldwide. He also helps young singers bridge the gap, often left behind after they have completed their studies at the music conservatoriums worldwide. Raymond is in demand internationally. He gives master classes in Germany, Norway, Sweden, Italy, Belgium, Greece, the Netherlands, as well as the United States. So we are in good hands this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Raymond.
Good evening. That's quite an introduction.
Well, it's quite a career, and I'm very excited to have you on because I'm a student of opera, as many people know. I started off thinking I was a bass, and then eventually not being able to reach the E3 and E4 easily, but reaching the A1 very easily, and the A2, I realized I was a basso profondo, and it's taken years to learn what I have, what small knowledge I have. So it's great to have you on.
Hey,
So initially, let's talk through a little bit about obviously your amazing background and perhaps how it started for you, and then what led you to what you're doing now, which is obviously the academy and what you've been doing for many years, and helping people really understand bel canto. Everyone translates bel canto as the beautiful singing or the old school of singing versus the new school, and so let's begin from the beginning, and then we can move on to obviously your amazing work now and some advice for our listeners.
yeah, I started very, very early, having a mother who was a quite a famous soprano at the San Francisco Opera, and I got to do all sorts of little roles as a boy soprano, which I thought at the time was the cat's meow. I mean, they were mostly walk-on parts, but they were it it made me interested in the theater world, and I thought it was fascinating to hear all these. For me, not famous yet, but I heard a lot of famous people. And as I grew older, I decided I wanted to go into this path and sing. I had a teacher at Juilliard who taught me the beginning or the concept of bel canto, and he said it's not only Rossini, Donizetti, Rossini, Bellini, forgot one. It's like Maria Callas would say, it's like a straitjacket. You put it on and you apply it to all of your singing. You adapt the style. If you sing verissimo, that's a lot more declamatory. And in obviously in the Donizetti operas or the operas of that time, there was a lot more embellishment. which required the Belcanto technique of trills and beautiful messa di voces, mezza voces. That doesn't mean that one doesn't need to apply that in Puccini or Wagner. It's the technique stays the same, but you adapt the style. I mean, I must repeat this 100 times every day. And even Wagner was well known for saying, I want my singers to sing like they sing Bellini.
Okay.
So that's quite different
Interesting.
than,
So I get so many different, ideas of what bel canto is. Some people say it's not stressing on the consonants as much. It's focusing on the legato more throughout the piece or the aria. Some people say it's a lower way of singing. You're not singing as loud. You're not focusing on the power as much. You're not focusing on the squillo as much.
mm,
You're just focusing on the beautiful flowing sound.
well, the legato is very, very important, but without the proper breath support, the appoggio, that you lean on the breath and you're able to spin phrases, you're not going to have a nice legato.
Yes, and it's interesting because the Americans call it support, and then the Italians call it to lean on the breath. So, what does
Support,
that mean? What does support mean? Carrying the sound and then or leaning on the breath.
yeah, support is it's misconceived a lot that people think, oh, I'm going to support and I'm going to hammer on my diaphragm and look at me supporting. Yeah, what you're doing is blocking your breath. So to be able to execute a stream of air economically is when you apply appoggiare, appoggio, which means you have your breath, you breathe in and your ribs expand, your back muscles expand. And when you sing economically, you don't gush.
You don't strain. Okay.
And then you sing the phrase on that stream of breath.
Okay. What about the activation of the appoggio? Some teachers would say you need the mini cough, and you feel the solar plexus here sort of, how can you do that while you're singing? How do you activate the appoggio? I think was it Caruso would say to lean back, to lean on the tail of the back and then
Yeah,
let the sound carry forward.
he had a also very graphic way of describing that, which I won't repeat. But the idea is to breathe in, like I'm doing now, and at the same time expanding the ribs. And then when I sing, I use that no more than I am speaking. So it's like the Italians say, si parla, si canta, or si canta, si parla.
You can't breathe, you can't. What is it? You can't breathe, you can't sing. Or you can't. Is that right? Or yeah,
That's very much true. Yeah, that's very
yes,
true. It's also the way you sing, you speak,
yes.
depending on how you speak. I have to add there.
Yeah. There was an interesting vocal coach called Michael Trimble from the States. And
Yes,
yes.
we correspond quite a
Oh,
bit.
really? Okay. So he talks a lot about the Corelli smile, and that's all you need. All you need is the Corelli smile, and the sound lifts up, and you don't have to strain on the sound. You don't have to keep making
Yes,
it artificial mouth movement.
yes, I love
Um,
Michael. It's actually
yeah.
called the inner smile, which is, well, I usually describe it as like trying to yawn in church. Suppressed yawn. You have
Yeah.
this, it's not a grin, but it's just, and you lift the palate, the hard palate. You lift it up a little bit. And this gives you a more brighter sound. If you go
Okay.
too far back to the soft palate, it becomes woofy, which is a mistake a lot of singers make. They think I'm going to make a lot of room. I'm singing the back of my throat, and that's not the idea.
Okay. So does it vary because when I first started, I had a lot of issues with my voice. and it took. I had many vocal coaches. I had vocal coaches in Australia. I had some really good ones in Egypt, by the way. Egypt has a great history for opera.
Okay.
Opera started in 1896 when one of the kings here he commissioned Verdi to write Aida in Egypt for
Oh
the first
wow. Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Julius Caesar was also written about here. Um, so till now, they really take opera seriously. They had the opera house built in the 1800s. Sadly, got burnt down in the 70s, and the Japanese rebuilt another one in the late 80s. So it'd be great to get you here for a masterclass. Also, the region is fabulous for opera, and then other places like Dubai and all those. Once the war's over, hopefully,
Yeah.
they're beginning now to appreciate opera.
Yes, I'd love
Um,
to come over.
so for me, my problem was all of the education online and all the books, Corelli, Caruso, I think it's the Melocchi also technique.
Mm.
I felt they were more for tenors and sopranos. There wasn't something specific for the heavy voice,
Yeah.
the bass.
Well,
So, yeah,
Meloki is, if it's correctly used, um, it works to your advantage, but it's usually exaggerated that the larynx is forced too low. And it's also for, I know that the Delmonico is the person that studied with Malocchi and also Corelli, but Corelli backed away from it. He used some of the principles and then adapted it. It was too, maybe too rough on the vocal cords for someone who didn't have vocal cords like steel, like Delmonico, which, you know, fantastic voice, but not everybody has an instrument like that.
yes. So let's go back quickly to the concept of, because this is the most important concept, support versus the leaning on the breath. So,
Mm,
great soprano Joan Sutherland would say, and this is how I ended up learning support because for many years I just didn't understand what it meant. People say pull out your stomach or breathe from the sides or lean on the pelvis. And Joan Sutherland fixed it for me when she said in one of her master classes. Push down the sides and clip them to the pelvis like a tent being pegged to the ground. And
mm-hmm,
that's all I started doing. And then for me, learning clarinet, I think the breathing of the clarinet really fixed up my lower, um, I don't know what happened, but some sort of lower power that allowed me to
mm-hmm.
push down. And then once I started pushing down, the sound would come up eventually. It's like the more I went push down, the more I was able to lift up the
Yeah,
sound.
it's the lower you get the breath. I mean, I'm very careful with the word push. Um, you make room on the pelvic floor as much as where your breath is, and there you keep the breath as I call it, like if you blow up a balloon, not all the way, and you squeeze it a little bit, what happens? It
It starts
expands
to,
on all sides.
okay.
You got to
Oh,
take the
yeah.
balloon, and then you got this support. This is your support system on which you sing. Like you have this cushion of air, and you
Yep.
don't block the diaphragm. The diaphragm is an involuntary muscle. You have no control over it. If I inhale, it goes down automatically.
Yep.
So this baloney of a lot of, especially in Americans schools, they teach the diaphragmatic singing. Yeah, the diaphragmatic singing is because you are leaning on the breath and the diaphragm goes down and you are able to sing on the flow of breath, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, very interesting. And I think it was Caruso and I think Corelli also. They said, forget about the head. It's all about down here. Don't even think
Mm,
about what's happening up here, which I think works for some singers. I don't think that works for all singers. I mean, I've had sopranos on that said they don't think about anything here. They don't think about the resonator. They don't think about the mask.
yeah.
They don't think about the pharynx, all that sort of stuff. All they think about is all the work here. And for me, that I just had so many problems. For me, I needed to work up here first. For me, I my resonator wasn't working. So what I was doing, because I had the deep voice, what I was doing is I was speaking from my larynx, and then when I started to sing, I was singing from my larynx, which meant I
Yeah.
couldn't do any high notes. I couldn't. None of this was working until one day in a class, I just felt something pop here, right here, and I think this was again from Corelli. He had an interview once while he's walking
Mm.
out of the theater, and they said, "How do you do it?" And he just said, "Here and here." And I just, and I, what does that mean? You know?
Well, you know, there's a danger in listening to people that sing fantastically and they say, well, I do it like this. You think, oh, great. Now, how do I do it? So that's uh, Nielsen was a perfect example of demonstrating more head resonance and using the hard palate for that.
Yes,
And I'm very hesitant to talk about placing the voice, which I do not.
yes,
This is a passageway. This is, Eva Turner used to say, this is just the passageway. It doesn't have any function except your vocal cords are in your larynx. That's your voice box, and that's the only. But you don't support this. You support down here, and the because you support properly, the stream of air hits the resonance chambers. Now, hey, what's the resonance chambers? Everything that's bone here. That's it's like a keyboard. When you play the piano, you hear the keyboard and you hear the back of the piano. That is the resonance. So when you sing, you don't place the tone because you're shortchanging yourself. If you place it like that, you're going to have a very pinched off sound.
very limited sound. Yeah.
But you want this.
Wow.
Everything resonating and
But
not worrying about, oh, I have to do something in my throat. Nah, leave the throat alone.
so you're not placing it anywhere. You're not consciously saying, I'm going to place it here. I'm going to place it there.
If if I have to use the term placing, I would say that I sense the resonance up here,
Yeah.
which is different. If I place this sound, it would be and nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
So if you let the air come up from below here, and you can just go with it. And I have no problems in range and as a bass. I had to work hard for my technique too because I had far too large a range in the beginning. So you get all these brilliant teachers that say, "Oh no, you're a Helen tenor probably." No, I'm not. Yes, I can hit an A natural on a good day, but that doesn't mean I'm a Helden tenor.
Wow. That's
And
A natural.
yeah, that's when the wind blowing the right way.
Wow.
But
Um,
the
mm,
range does not define what your voice type is.
yeah.
The passaggio, the break register, will define what
I
uh,
think Pavarotti said that. Yeah. It's like when you get past
tessitura you
the
sing.
passaggio, that's when you know your real voice.
Yeah, in the lower voices, um, bass, around B flat, below middle C, you feel a turn of the voice happening, and that's the laryngeal tilt.
Yes.
Now, the larynx does that at a certain point if it's free to move, if it's not constricted. If it's been taught to do everything here, it can't tilt, and you get this. But if you
Yes.
want the the larynx to tilt. Oh, it's the first passaggio. Oh, oh, second passaggio.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a first and a second. Is it only for the
Yes.
bass or for all of them?
No, for all the voices.
Okay. I thought the passaggio for me was the really high tone, the really high notes, the going past the
No, the
going into
problem
the
of the high voice lies in the low voice. If you don't set it up correctly, you're going to run into problems. And that's for tenors as well. If they don't set their voice properly, they guide the voice, I should say, from the beginning on. I don't have my keyboard here, so I'm not going to demonstrate, but they can't. If you go from C up already E flat, you have a first tilt of the larynx, and then the famous F sharp passaggio.
Let's talk about the tilt because some vocal coaches say that it's all about the tilt. So the larynx needs to be tilted and it needs to be low and then
Mm-hmm.
open enough for the air to turn into vibration. So apparently when it goes past here, it's not when it gets into the resonator, the main resonator, it doesn't become air anymore, it becomes vibration.
Mm-hmm.
But is the tilt happening because of a lot of vocalize, a lot of training, or is it something you can consciously do? I mean, for me, I don't think it worked for many years until I actually just kept pounding at it basically on the piano, and then eventually I could tilt, and then because I could tilt, then I could vibrato because I couldn't do
Yeah.
vibrato without the.
Okay.
Is that right? Or am I saying the right thing? Or
No, no, no. I understand what you're saying. Um, the tilt will happen if the voice is not constricted, non ingolata. If you have been studying and you've been throat supporting your voice, it's not going to tilt because everything is stuck. So first you
okay,
get the voice free again,
yes,
that it can go, and then you can go through the scale. You have oh, and the vowel modulates. So if you start on a ah, there is a o vowel that comes into place at the passaggio.
oh right. So the R becomes a O at the first passaggio, or like
It,
a yeah.
yeah, it's not a pure O, but it's oh, oh, oh,
Okay.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So yeah, I just don't look. I'm only talking from my own development. So for me again, it was because I had the deep voice growing up. I
Mm.
used to speak from the larynx, and then when I started getting training, every teacher that I had was like, "Stay away from here. It's too throaty. It's too breathy. Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up." And I'm like, "Hey, well, bring it up where? What
Yeah.
do I do? You know?"
Um, yeah, there's I wrote an article just yesterday, I think it's somewhere on Facebook. Um,
Yeah, we're going to, by the way, our viewers, we're going to put the link of Raymond's work on our Facebook page and then on our YouTube. So to see his amazing work in the Belcanto Academy also.
Great. Um, so there's an article that explains the gap of teachers being able to convey exactly what one has to do. It's so easy to say, no, get the voice up, or stay away from your throat, as you just said. What do you do instead? It has to be the basic anatomy has to be known to a teacher, the singer's anatomy. And if they don't know that, then hands off, don't teach. Because you have to be able to,
And
um,
that's very important. I've had some really, really bad teachers who are cruel in the way they teach, and some of them don't subscribe to anatomy. They make you feel like it's something magical that's supposed to happen, and I'm so against that. The more I learned, the more I realized that it's all about anatomy. It's a mechanism, It's an instrument that, like any other instrument,
It
you need to
is.
know how to hold it and where to breathe in it. And I think Norma Green, the great soprano, American soprano, I think was talking about the importance of anatomy also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah, the most important thing is when you come to a teacher and he or she says something like, stay out of your throat. The hairs on my neck stand up because I want to hear, okay, what do you want
What do you do?
the, what do you want the person to do instead? And
Yeah.
then if they cannot explain that, then they have no right teaching.
Yeah.
And that's it's a bit harsh, but I'm running into I teach people who are already singing in the theater. They come from Germany, they come a few days here, and they say, well, I've never heard of this at all. I've never heard of integrating the head voice, so I have a better low voice. And their eyes cross when I mention that. They go, what? And basic principles that I did learn, and also by researching a lot. You always learn, you never stop learning.
Yeah, of course. What about terms like chiaroscura? Is it the combination of the chest
Well,
and
that's when the appoggiare functions, the appoggio. If you have the support, I don't do anything different now. I could sing, but I'm speaking. And then you have the dark and light. If you
okay,
only have, let's say you support in the chest only, you automatically are going to be singing with a high larynx, and the scuro is going to go out of the window.
okay,
And when you lower the breath, you have a much wider palette to choose from when you sing.
yep,
And it's also when singing is more towards the hard palate than the soft palate. The soft palate is a reaction of singing towards the hard palate. Ah, 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 right there.
okay.
And
What a yep,
for the soft palate, yes, it's a stretch for the very high notes for the coloratura sopranos. They can use that. But the mistake that a lot of people, and especially from Eastern European countries, that the school is like this and everything is in the back of the throat. And that's not quite right.
okay, very interesting. What about the importance of the pharynx? Now, when I learned the importance of the pharynx, that's when my life changed. And this is Thomas Hampson. He said you
Yes.
need to have the pharynx open the whole time. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's different for everyone. Like everyone says, yawn. And I didn't understand why do I have to yawn? What the yawn position? But then I realized the yawn position allows for that freedom. It allows for the pharynx to be open. And then I realized that it's the pharynx that throws I think it was I don't know. It wasn't Thomas Hampson that said this, but it basically said the pharynx is what throws to the rest of the resonator. So they have to accept what the pharynx gives it. So if you don't have enough in the pharynx, the rest can't work with. It's like a river.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rib,
The larynx is where the sound originates,
yeah,
but the pharynx is your resonator.
yeah, yeah,
So you
yeah.
have here the pharynx, and on top is the pharynx. And
The There's a couple of different. I think there's like something in the nasopharynx, and then I can't remember what
yes,
the other one's called. Yeah, that's when
and
my life changed.
by
Yeah,
using that space, I also say the open throat effect is in the back of the tongue. All this space here, it's like a pull of the forward feeling and the back feeling here. So you have the resonance and the space.
yes. Um, what was I going to say? So yeah, for me again, whenever I speak about myself. So for me, the resonators the order of resonators for me was one, the pharynx, the most important,
Hmm.
and then the mouth area. So, oh, so it's here, here, and then the nasal, and then if I want to use some of the larynx, I can, but that's like the weakest resonator. So that's what I came up with for all these years of training. That
Mm,
stay away from here, but where do I go? I go here because the vocal coaches say go up, and then I started doing some anatomy work, and I realized you can't go this way. There's nothing
mm,
to go here. There's nothing to go up here. It's just bone and muscle. You need to go from behind, and
exactly.
that's why everyone's saying do this, and it's do this because when the larynx opens, it allows for the stream to go into the whole area, whatever it's going to be. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's when it started working for me.
Yes. And
Amazing.
and this is also there are many facets of technique. There is no cookie cutter recipe for here, one, write this down and you'll be able to sing.
No.
That's total nonsense. Everyone is built just a little differently, and you
Yeah.
have to use the principle of, let's say, Belcanto, but I like to call it the old school technique, which is based on proper breath support and using the resonator, which is the natural bone structure of your head.
Yes.
And one thing that I'm always amazed at, that a lot of singers sing with their mouth wide open in the middle range and they lose focus.
Yes.
If you start with your mouth this wide open, and I had a soprano here the other day, and she started singing Visitate. I
Very
stopped her and
mechanical.
said, "My
Yeah.
dear, what are you going to do on the B flat? Explode?" Because you can't go stretch anymore. Just keep it in parlando.
Yes.
Visitarte. And this seems to be something I hear too often. I
It's
won't
part
go
of the training. Yeah.
what.
I
It's
think
just
a lot of vocal teachers just say keep the mouth open the whole time, and I was told that way.
mm,
Mm. And I mean, sometimes you have to, but sometimes you can make the sound and have a small,
well,
a small sound, a
listen, if
small
if you
mouth.
sing higher, you're gonna have to open the mouth. I compare it to a door. You open the door to go through, and once you're through, you close the door again. So you don't leave your mouth wide open. When I
Okay.
s- when you sing a high note,
Yeah.
um, I'm not even gonna attempt to sing a high note now, but you sing that and you come back to the normal mouth position.
Yes.
And the mouth should not be wider than about this track here. Oh, and not horizontal spread. That's nonsense. Doing that will just raise the larynx again.
Oh, so the
You
smile,
want, yeah, no, the grin.
the grin. Yeah.
Yeah, so the inner smile is good because it lifts the palate and everything. You have this, okay, it's the right lift that I want in there, but it's not this, because then you're
You're
using this
restricting
again.
it. Yeah. And what about the snare? I think it's like this.
Yeah,
Versus the apple. They say put an apple in your mouth. There's a fantastic tenor at the moment, a famous tenor. I think he's a Spanish tenor, and he's always saying, "Put the apple in your mouth." And I actually went in there one day. I had a bit of an argument with him, and I said, "How can you sing with an apple in your mouth? If your mouth's that open, anatomy-wise, you're actually closing the pharynx. So you're opening, but
mm.
back here's getting closed because it's so open. You're losing the stream here. Is
And
that
I
right?
think because he is a tenor, I assume, um, he got this from Pavarotti, who said it's like as if biting into an apple, which is
Okay.
different. You got
Yeah.
this, ah, ah. As a tenor, you're going to have to open.
Oh, okay.
But you don't stick the apple in. I
You
mean,
don't stick the apple in. Yeah, that's it.
that's besides, it sounds horribly dangerous.
Yeah, interesting.
Got the apple
So,
stuck in your mouth. Ugh.
so yeah, so I think the message today would be that every voice needs to be trained differently. Even for the vocalese, I think from my experience, everyone starts in the middle C,
Mhm.
and then up. And that was very bad for me. I think one of my first teachers started playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, forcing me to sing in the high register, and that was very bad for me until I met an amazing man that began my vocalise from A1, and then
Mm.
I started, and no one does that. They all start from the C and go up.
Well,
But
that's
well, I need to warm up. I need like 10 minutes of the low range. That's where I'm very comfortable in, and then slowly take me up. And they're like, no, no, this is the way it's done for everyone. No,
well, that's where the knowledge of the teacher comes in. Do they know what type of voice you have? Can they hear your passaggio?
yeah.
So when you have a low voice, you start not on little c, you start maybe on the A below it, and you work exercises, and then you do your stretching.
Some refuse, Raymond. Like I've had ones that refuse, say, no, I've been doing this for 20 years. This is the way it's done. Well, you're dealing with a different voice. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's a strange world. Vocal pedagogy, unfortunately, there's a lot of ego involved too.
There is. There is.
Like I have sung for 30 years on stage, and don't you dare tell me this is not right. And okay,
Yeah. I think
if
there was the fantastic bass one that sings is it Gia, the Italian guy. Hold on. Uh,
Geotti,
yes, Giotti.
yes, he's probably the best Zachariah
Yes.
that one can listen to.
But I've seen
Amazing instrument.
but I've seen him teach, and he had some good things to say. I think there was the couple of different sounds, phrases to make, but at the same time, I just felt like it was limiting in a way when he's teaching.
Different kettle of fish. I won't say anything about people how they sing and mention their names. I have heard some of the lessons. Yes, I would not teach that way.
That
Let's
way.
put it that way.
Okay. Can I show you a little bit of Osiris for me? Just when I begin.
Mm,
So for me it's O easy sons Osis Rechenket dir Freiheit Geist dem euren Pa. Is that
okay.
too much? Yeah.
Now, did you think at all about
No,
breath?
no, I didn't. I was thinking about up here again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the voice is not connected to the body. That's what I call it.
Okay.
It's not going to have a cord to it. What I
Okay.
heard is indeed up here.
Up here. Yeah.
Uh, uh, but you have to. Oh, is this
Okay.
Osiris? It's connected and it's got resonance.
Oh, that'll be better. Oh, still the same?
We can go online and do a whole voice lesson
Doing?
if you like. I don't think this is the right
Well, that's
moment for
important then.
that.
Yeah, I have to do the experiment on myself for my audience. Well, that's very important.
Yeah.
All right. Just before we go, can we find out a couple of terms then? Messa di voce. What does that mean?
Messa di voce is an old technique where one starts off singing softly and crescends a little bit louder and then goes back, decrescends and crescendo, decrescendo. So,
Fantastic.
and then on different levels.
Yep. What about filare la voce? Is it the spinning of the voice?
Yes, it's been interpreted as such.
That way. Okay. And then the importance of the vibrato.
The vibrato is a natural, should be a natural part of the voice. When you sing a tone, oh, up, 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 up. It's a natural vibrato. The problem is when you start pushing the subglottal pressure here, after a while, the voice starts doing whoa, 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 whoa. Then you're into the famous wobble, and you don't want that. I
Okay.
mean, if it happens, it happens. But there are basic exercises
So is the wobble
that alleviate that.
too much movement in the larynx? Is that what's happening? The wobble?
It's pressure on the chords, air
Okay.
pressure. And you go,
Okay.
oh, and unfortunately, sometimes it happens when young people sing a too heavy repertoire,
Yeah.
or older people when they've just gotten into this habit of honking it out, and then you get this bye bye feeling.
Wow. Amazing.
And
Um,
I realize that every voice has certain problems,
yes, of course.
and rarely do they. I wouldn't say problems. They have their own character, and you have to also take into consideration the mentality and the personality of the person.
Yes.
It's not
Okay.
one thing and not the other. It's a combination.
Combination. It's fantastic advice there, Raymond. We've taken a lot of your time this evening in Amsterdam. We're going to leave your website and your information on our Facebook page, and then eventually we're going to put it all onto YouTube. Thank you so much for your time,
Welcome.
Raymond Modesti from Amsterdam, the great bass, and the Belcanto Academy also. So we'll have our link for our viewers. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you soon. We'll get in touch soon, and maybe we can have a lesson together.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. You've been listening to Hashem's podcast of the great bass Raymond Modesti this afternoon, evening. See you. Bye.